Hi, my name is Elijah,
And I'm Kayla.
and today we're going to be talking about how to extract data from a data set. Two methods of doing this.
So the first one will be the VLOOKUP. We will search using the employee number to find the name, the pay grade, and also the hour worked. So first we'll have to, I'm going to randomly select an employee number. So just pick this one, copy and paste it up here. So the first thing we type VLOOKUP, and we are going to look up on the value is the employee number. And I'm going to lock the cell first so that I can drag it down later. And I'm going to use drag from the data, which is this whole table. And we have already set it up as the name data. And then I'm going to get the name, which is in column number 2. So I'm going to type 2. And I want to choose false because I want the exact same data that I need. So just tap it and then close, hit enter. So that we can look for the name, which is Crystal. And yes, this is Crystal. So then we would drop it down. And the next thing is we have to change the column that we want to look at. So for the pay grade, which is in the fourth column, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we will only type 4 and hit enter. It will show that it's number 1 pay grade. And then you also want to change the hour word column, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we change to 5 and hit enter. And this is how we use VLOOKUP to extract the data.
So I'm Elijah. I'm going to talk about the second method of extracting data. So I'm going to take this same thing and we're going to call this index and match. These are the two functions that we're going to be using to replicate what a VLOOKUP does. So the index function is very simple. Let me explain it to you. We take the array, which is the data set, which is the whole area that we're going to look at. It's kind of like Battleship. We're gonna say the row number and the column number that we want to identify the value of, and it's going to spit out whatever's in that cell. So let's take let's take the fourth column, which would be, or the row number, fourth row number, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's tell us what's in the fifth line of that, which would be the hours worked, and it would say 38 hours worked for the employee in the fourth row. So it's just 4, 5, kind of like a math coordinate. Now the match function is a bit different. In fact, it's the exact opposite. You take a known value and it's going to search for that value in a certain column. So we know that this is employee number that we're searching, that we already know of, and so we're going to look up this employee number in this column of employee numbers, and we want to find an exact match. So I'm going to type 0 as the last parameter and hit enter, and it's going to return us employee number CXN843F is the 11th row, is the 11th match in this column. The 11th row number. So combining these, we can replicate the VLOOKUP function. So I'm going to delete this, and let's try to find the name of this employee. So to do that, we're going to start with index function. We're going to type in the whole array, and it's going to ask for the row number. Now, we don't know the row number. I mean, we just found it to be 11, but we did that using the match function. So let's say we hadn't done that already. So we're going to ask Excel to find what row it's in. So it's going to find the row of this, and let's lock it, of this value of this employee number in this list of employee numbers. What row is that in? And let's lock these numbers. And exact match. And then so that's going to find us the row number. The column number that we're looking for is, because we're looking for name, we're going to be looking in the second column. And as you can see, it spits out the same information as above. it pulls out Crystal Cruise from the array. And to find the pay grade and the hours worked, very simple. You just have to change the column number that you're looking at. Because it's already identified that we're looking at this row right here. So all we need to do is find out what column of information we want to pull out. So let's say if we want the pay grade, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we want to find the hours work column, it's going to be the 5th column. So we find the same information. Now, what index and match does that VLOOKUP cannot do is interesting. So to show this, we can we're gonna try looking up by employee name. So let's try this. Let me just type name, employee number, and I'll just copy this down here. And let's try to do the index and match with the employee name. So let's say Crystal Cruz. So we want to find information. We want to be able to plug in a different name here and pull out the same information because maybe we don't know employee numbers, offhand. So the employee number for this, we'll use the index function, data, for the whole array, and we're going to find the row number by using match. Now this is you're going to need to know that this is a name. So use some common sense to know that this is a name. We're going to look in the name column for this value. And let's lock these cells. And then, oh, whoops, that didn't, okay. So we're going to be looking for this. So we're going to be looking for this name in this column. And then we're going to look for exact match. And this will find this whole match function is going to find the row that it's on. Whether, 7, 8, 9, whatever row that we're trying to pull the information out of. And the column we're going to look for is the same no matter what row it is. We're going to be looking for column number 1, the employee number. And we're going to do a similar thing as we did before. Copy this down. Pay grade is going to be the same, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4th column. Hours worked is going to be the next column over, the 5th column.
So now we try to use the name to search for the employee number, the pay grade, and hour work using the VLOOKUP function. So let's just copy this name and paste it over here. So then we type in VLOOKUP, and then we want to look up the name and then using the data table. And we want to look at the employee number, which is at the 1st column, so we type in 1. And then we want it exactly the same data. So we type false and close parenthesis. And I'm going to lock in these cells so that I can use it later for the other information. Hit enter. It could not find any value. Let's try if you can find any pay grade and hour worked. So the same thing as we did before, we have to change the column number. The pay grade is at column number 1, 2, 3, 4. So type in 4. It's still no value. How about the hour worked? Let's change it to column number 5. It still will not show the value.
Yeah, so this highlights one of the fundamental differences, some might say drawback of the VLOOKUP function is that you cannot take the second row and search from that, for example. It assumes that you are looking from the leftmost column. Now the index and match function is a little more versatile, although it's a little more complicated. So that's the pros and cons. VLOOKUP, a little more simple. A little less flexible. Index and match, a little more complicated, but it is a little more flexible to use. And that's our presentation. Mahalo.